Hey, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm gonna talk about top 5
best vacuum food sealers kitchen.
Starting at number 5.
VacPak-It VMC 10 DPU. For any reason you're interested in serious vacuum sealing, this chamber model is actually somewhat reasonably sized for an industrial quality machine, whereas others literally wouldn't fit in a home kitchen, and reasonably priced, compared to the upwards of several $1,000s those can cost. Stefano Diaz, owner and head butcher at the Meat Wagon in Kingston, New York, uses a slightly bigger version of it. "We're doing heavier sealing," he says, "but it's also very user-friendly. You have to change the oil with it, like you do with a lawnmower, but it's easy." Surprisingly enough, a customer told me the other day they have one. If you do a crazy amount of cooking, it might be worth it. It holds more, and it's faster. For slightly more money, though still quite moderate for a commercial machine, you can get the VacMaster, recommended by Chris Carter, the other co-founder of Porter Road. If you have the space for it, it'll be there forever, and you'd be inclined to really utilize it, he says. It's a couple of inches bigger than the VacPak, and while it might look intimidating just because of the size, it's actually very easy to use, he says. You put whatever in the bag, lay the bag across the rail on the inside, close the lid, and turn it on. That's it.
Coming at number 4.
FoodSaver FM 5200. FoodSaver is probably the most recognizable brand on this list to the average cook. It's certainly the first, and really even only, vacuum sealer brand I was aware of before delving into the topic. Still, I gave it this specific designation, that it's best for canning, because, according to the experts I spoke with, it's especially good for that function, and it's also more expensive and bulkier than my best overall pick. For Kimberly Plafk, chef and general manager of Standing's Butchery's soon-to-come second location in Los Angeles, the FoodSaver's canning attachment, which is nestled in a compartment at the top of the machine, has been helpful for making jam. It lets her seal the lid once she's filled the jar and extend the life of the spread from just a couple of weeks to up to a few months. The machine is generally a solid and reliable one, too, even if you don't plan on using the canning attachment. I find it super helpful, Plafk says. It's a space saver because you're taking all the air out. You can organize your fridge and freezer so much better. I'm a crazy coupon lady, and if I see a good deal on something at the grocery store, I can divide and then vacuum seal and save it for ages.
At number 3.
Amazon Basics Vacuum. Russ Flint, owner of Rain Shadow Meats in Seattle, uses Amazon's in-house brand vacuum sealer to package sausages in his shop because the simpler, the better for me, he says. He appreciates that it is fairly lightweight due to its smaller size, though it does still fit standard 11-inch bags, and has an indent at the bottom for the cord to tuck into when not in use. But mostly, he likes that the mechanisms, a regular seal, a vacuum seal, and options for dry and wet foods, are straightforward. Other ones have all these frills and whatnot, which are just other places for it to fall apart and break, he says. The price even comes in at slightly less than the NESCO, above.
Number 2 of my list.
NESCO vs. 02. The price of the Anova isn't bad, but I wanted to find a reliable machine for even less, especially given that some folks might be making a foray into vacuum sealing for the first time. So I turned to Ryan Dolliver, owner of Palmetto in Brooklyn, whose main priority when picking one out was affordability. I bought it for the bar, and I didn't know if it was going to work for us, and I didn't want to spend a bunch of money on equipment we might not have ended up using, he says. But it did indeed work, and he's been relying on it for about a year now. He turns to it primarily for infusing and preserving ingredients for cocktails, a practice where consistency is paramount, he says. Other methods for flavoring creams or syrups can suffer from variations in temperature and movement, but with vacuum sealing, recipes turn out the exact same every single time. The machine also allows him to keep seasonal produce fresh for months. Finally, because he lives down the street from his bar, he sometimes uses it to seal foods to store in his own freezer or to sous vide at home. Overall, it's a very low cost of entry and does what it says it does every time, he says. It's a consumer-grade product, but I use it in a professional setting, and it still works great.
And number 1.
Anova Culinary Precision. The Anova Pro was my first foray into vacuum sealing, and I was pleasantly surprised by how easy it is to operate. You open it by clicking 2 buttons on the side, line up the edge of your bag across the chamber, and close it. There's a very audible sound, so I always knew for sure it was secured. The machine is super simple to navigate. I watched this short demonstration on YouTube before jumping in. 1 button seals until it automatically senses all the air is gone, and another lets you pulse seal, only pushing the air out as you press a button so you have a bit more control. There's also an option to double seal for extra insurance. Even when I shook a bag filled with tomato sauce, there was absolutely no leakage. The fact that it's easy to use isn't only a plus for beginners like me. James Peisker, co-founder of Porter Road in Nashville, uses it for food storage and sous videing and assures it gets the job done. There aren't a lot of buttons or bells and whistles, he says. It's very straightforward, very user-friendly. He says he appreciates the accessible price point, too, a sentiment shared by Dave Yasuda, Director of Marketing at Snake River Farms. Yasuda is responsible for generating a lot of the photography his company puts out, meaning he sous vides a lot to ensure a consistent look of the plated pieces of pork and beef. In the office they have a big, expensive machine. But I often have to take this show on the road, he says. I've tried a lot of different ones, and sometimes they can be wimpy. This has a lot of suction. It's powerful.
Check out this video description for latest price and more informations. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe and stay tuned.